It's been approximately 6 months and 14 days since posing the question, or perhaps a call for action, of the following: can anyone prove to me that women are real? Thankfully, I arrived today with an answer. But before we get to that, I need to rehash a few things to get you up to speed. Rushia is not real. I mean, of course she isn't. She is, or in this case was, a virtual YouTuber making content under the cover of a large corporation. On paper, Rushia is a petanko necromancer character that someone is acting as for a stream, right? That much I am confident in. But if Rushia isn't real, then what the heck did I spend months of my life watching? The most exciting memory of the past Christmas was watching Rushia stream herself baking treats. Is that memory real? Now I'm not so sure that Rushia is as unreal as I was told to think she was. There were almost 2 million people watching her streams at the peak, and were all those people acutely aware of the LARP occurring? Was everyone typing Daisuke in chat really pretending? And moreover, who were they telling those kind words to? Rushia at some point was real. I'm afraid you've been misled by my previous tongue-in-cheek comment regarding Rushia's unreality. She did exist after all, and the comment I made was done with the intention to make you ask, are VTubers real? The answer to that question is dependent on how willing you are to subject yourself to deliberate deception. Can you see a whole live stream and say, this is Gargura, and stop thinking about the itch in the back of your mind begging you not to ask, what is Gargura? Rather, how is Gargura? Well, she is a virtual YouTuber. That is all we need to know. If you want to know more, you must be new around here. Please leave. Thus, I can confidently say that Rushia was, at some point, real, or real enough to spend hours watching. She is no more real than Pars is now. My disembodied voice is being broadcasted across the wire directly to your computer for a means of entertainment or background noise or whatever. The guy typing the script on the keyboard and the one speaking the lines into the microphone is indeed as real as a person can probably be. But what is being presented on the other end to the audience is more of an abstraction of a person than anything else. A curated personality lab tested to entertain an audience of thousands of chronically online YouTube surfers. All that is to say, my ex-VTube waifu is probably more real than I am. The other day in the shower, I was thinking about how crazy these hololive personalities are going to be in a couple years. I mean, I won't be losing a significant amount of sleep over it, but the concern is still ever present. What I'm talking about is the genuine concern of a LARP going too far. There's almost certainly a perfect bluism happening here. These streamers play a character, but at some point, the character just becomes an extension of themselves. What they like or dislike soon defines the character that they use to stream. To some extent, most all people play a character. While you might not have a live 2D rig nor be a cute anime boy or girl, you wear a mask nevertheless. Disregarding the possibility that all VTubers are acting 100% in line with their scripted personality, there is something terribly frightening happening right under the noses of millions, and this isn't exclusive to Hololive either. I've seen a few interviews with various streamers regarding their occupation and the experiences they have. They exist as a personality and broadcast themselves for hours on end to a massive audience. If you like the idea of playing games, cracking jokes, and getting paid to do so, it is still not for the faint of heart. It is in their best interest not to reveal too much about themselves outside of their streaming persona. Saying too much can result in doxing or worse. That's why I've heard streamers mentioning some form of being on their game. The act of hitting the go live button means being able to present a curated version of themselves that is consistently entertaining for hours on end. Their entire lifestyle revolves around their streams. Eventually, they become less a gamer who streams and more so a streamer who games. But who cares about Twitch streamers? What really keeps me up at night are the Hololive girls. They are perhaps a more extreme case where this could be more of a serious problem. Yes, I've discussed previously that the live 2D model and presenting a character can be undeniably a good thing, where the audience will be less focused on judging a person's appearance and instead focus on the personality being presented. This is a direct attack against the popularity of titty streamers who would capitalize off their own sex appeal. Though the irony was how popular VTubers got, despite their lack of a human person being presented directly, though it's perhaps because of this that they gain traction with new demographic. However, What concerns me is the overvalued emphasis on a VTuber's personality here, or rather, the even more complex web of lies being presented as such. Hololive in particular bases the vast majority of their talent's character off a starting set of defining traits or characteristics. For example, the first English branch of Hololive is known as Myth, and all this generation has characters inspired by or based on mythical creatures or figures. For instance, the Grim Reaper or a Phoenix. The trend continued with the second generation known as Council, though to a lesser extent this is seen on the Japanese side, where there is more flexibility within a generation, but all streamers will still follow certain guidelines. I don't know if they are flexible in their scouting, or if they make a character after meeting the streamer, but the point still stands. Thus I conclude, Hololive girls have better character development than real women. I don't talk to real women, of course, nor do I converse with Hololive girls, but I don't need to do either to confidently present this as nothing other than a fact. The character outline is indeed helpful since the streamer has some basis to work off when first starting, but as we know, this character usually becomes less important as time goes on, and the dominant personality emerges. That dominant personality would be a personalized mixture of Cover's defined character that was given to them and a curated set of the streamer's own characteristics. The latter is inevitable as they get more comfortable with the position. This is when they really start to hit their stride and define the character naturally through a personalized emergent narrative. What concerns me, however, is the depersonalization inevitable with this model. In a perfect world, a streamer would have two distinct personalities between online and offline interactions, where the online would be presenting a less intimate version of themselves. Except people don't work like that. I find this even more problematic considering how most of these girls are likely introverted types, or at least those more likely to spend an afternoon gaming instead of going out to town. They wouldn't be considering a job as a streamer otherwise. The reason I bring this up is because I don't think introverted types are particularly good at adorning too many masks. Those who interact often with many types of people are more comfortable dealing with social interactions and dealing pleasantries. The introverted girl would suddenly be met with an audience of thousands of people, and they most likely have never experienced such a large audience before. That attention can't not go to their heads. With all the people throwing money and attention at them, how sane can you really stay? And that's concerning and all, but what really keeps me up at night is imagining them thinking, nobody liked me when I was acting like myself, they only liked the character.
No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
At what point does the character they play become more dominant? Or at the very least, when do traits of the streaming persona begin to leak into reality? How can they return to normalcy after living such a stimulating lifestyle? I would like to think it's possible after some time, but I fear nothing will ever be the same for them. Peko. I'm Pars. The character or the person? I don't think I'm either. So then what am I? In November of 2017, I declared myself as becoming Pars. Whether this meant I was allowing myself to be like my online persona or just being more honest with myself, I cannot answer fully. Even my most honest videos feel like I'm intentionally trying to keep the viewer at an arm's length, and I try not to reveal much about myself in fear that this fragile display will crumble. But despite these caveats, the videos I make and the blogs I write about are always genuine. I sprinkle in a bit of dramaticism, but they are otherwise true to what I am. But I don't write or vlog every day. Hololive girls and VTubers are streaming almost every day, or at the very least, multiple times per week. I would find it hard to believe that they are able to play distinct personalities for hours on end and be able to turn off the stream and become someone else. There have been many cases of Hololive streamers shifting the personality or going off script as time goes on because they find that molding the character to fit their offline personality works better. Whether this is because they want to decrease the distance between themselves and the character, or if they are merging with them is another question. It might honestly be a bit of both. Regardless, this is something I find to be quite fascinating but hard to discuss since roommate conversation is somewhat yabai desu ne. So I ignore it and focus on the tangibles. I will entertain myself with the fabricated illusion being presented to me as it is, and I am comfortable leaving it as that. I guess that's why I told my parents I believed in Santa until even they didn't believe my lies anymore. I knew the truth, but I wasn't ready to let the magic wear off. In the end, I relinquished my convictions upon laying eyes on her smiling face once again. A few weeks ago, I found a Dojin art book and acrylic keychain and stand in the bottom of my desk. I looked at the innocent cat girl acrylic stand and the cute face smiling back at me, and remembered listening to the ear-kissing ASMR at 1 a.m. because I couldn't get to sleep on a work night. It was the cute Petan necromancer that I spent a good deal of my winter months with. I don't know what my thought process was, banishing these goods away into the depths of my desk. Perhaps I wanted to hold a grudge against just the person, the roommate. But I only really cared about the character, and by hiding these things, I had missed the point of VTubers. Leaking information about other people within Hololive or whatever, I don't know if it was specifically about a member. Breaking NDA, not good. You shouldn't do that. It's not something that you will be remembered fondly for doing. The company Cover Corp was honestly within their rights to terminate her contract because she breached the contract. This is not a slap on the wrist moment. You're fired. It could jeopardize the integrity of the company, everything that they're doing, the whole idea of having a virtual YouTuber. And there was some stuff that she was doing that was incorrect, and it was within the company's right to terminate her contract. I honestly don't really understand Rushia sympathizers, or they're just examples of the frightening levels of cuckoldery were going on around here. The fun is in the character and the delusions we entertain. My Rushia, the one in my head, was different. The anime girls I have fallen in love with over the years were not all without lovers. In fact, most of them had a canonical boyfriend or husband at some point. This was no different. The waifu that exists in my mind is a unique existence that transcends the screen and follows the logic of my own headcanon. I sleep next to Yukinoshita Yukino, and Hikigaya Hachiman does not. And in that regard, so does Uruha Rushia. What determines the extremity your delusions take is how willing you are to relinquish your own sanity for the sake of peace of mind. Are you ready to go beyond? Through the vessel of another, I can project my dreams, and they can live on in ignorant harmony. I see a character or person, and without knowing who they are, I can create an elaborate fantasy world where I know everything I want to know about them. The person I want them to be is all that they are, and the illusion can survive as long as I close my eyes. If I get too close, I risk seeing the imperfections. I fear the knowledge of what they could become or what they really are, so I recoiled at the thought of understanding, and settled for looking up the skirts of PVC figures. 3D PD women are not real. They don't exist within the confines of my understanding. The Rushia incident doesn't matter. None of it matters. What he said or she said is nothing but speculation. None of this happened to my Rushia though. She was never human. She was undead. Even after termination, she lives on. So I put the acrylic stand back up on display on my desk.